Well, it was quite a season. Very interesting to say the least. I had a lot planned for this season, but because of the record low snowfall, it forced me to make new plans on top of the original plans. But Mother Nature will do that to you.
Yeah.
You guys ski that nice. I watched you guys do it. Oh, that's where it was weird. Was it like taking your guys' ski and making you guys go like this? Yeah. It felt so weird.
Yeah, it's just a little dance.
So wet.
What is happening, everybody? I hope you all are having a happy Friday. This Friday is a very special Friday because today is May the 1st. That means your boy Eternal has just finished off a quarter of a century of his life. Yes, as of today, I am officially 25 years old now. Not ideally the season to celebrate such a big milestone, but I did find a way to salvage the most out of it. I have gotten more ski days in this season than I have any other ski season. I am knocking on the door for 40 days this season. Last season I got 25 days, so quite a step up. I went on three big ski trips, which we will get into later in this video. Despite the record low snowfall, I was still able to find stuff to work with this season. Alright, it is November the 8th, and we were at Copper Mountain. Let's get it! The season first started off for me on November 8th of 2025 at Copper Mountain. I went there the day after opening day because I unfortunately wasn't able to make it to opening day because I had to work. The day after opening day was alright. I got a few laps on main vein and got to feel snow again. It definitely was an interesting experience since I have hardly done any November skiing before. At least the only time I have skied in November was during record snow years. Although I am still keeping that streak because this year it was a record year. Just in a different way.
Okay, while we're up here, Dave, show them what this is. This is a wicked tool.
This is the official opening day saber tool. Well, I can't show what it does until I actually do it, Shannon. It's going to be pretty cool.
It's going to show the champagne bottle. It just happens really fast. Now, people have signed it every year. Okay, so who created this? Rob Perlman made it. Rob's here somewhere. Where's the triangle man? Right, look at that. That's another thing. The what? Champagne powder bell. And we have some confetti. Right here. Heidi's got the confetti conveniently placed.
After my opening day experience at Copper, which was so-so, my friend Liam West, who I skied with a few times this season, posted Steamboat's opening day announcement video on Discord. In that announcement video, I hear they are going to give out free t-shirts and smart wool socks for their first 100 customers. Also, it was the only opening day I was going to be able to attend as they did it on a Saturday. I knew I had to go and check that out. I really did want a free t-shirt. Wasn't as concerned about the socks, but those would have been nice to have. Even if I wasn't able to get the merch, it still seemed like a cool experience. When Friday night came, I packed up my car, I drove over to Rabbit Ears Pass, and camped in the back of my Toyota Corolla Cross, which wasn't the most pleasant as someone who is 6'4". But I found a way to bundle up back there and camped overnight. If you think that was pretty diehard, then you would be absolutely shocked to find out what other people were doing to attend that event. There were literally people who were camping in front of the Wild Blue Gondola since the Tuesday before the opening day. That is diehard to a level I can never imagine. As much as I love Steamboat, I don't see myself ever doing something like that. I got a life. Anyway, I get in line for the Wild Blue just before 7 a.m., and some of the workers started handing out Powder Day donuts. They were fresh and hot, just like Krispy Kremes, but it wasn't just plain glazed donuts. Actually being able to taste some of the other flavors, fresh and hot, was amazing, which is an experience you just don't get at Krispy Kreme. Anyway, they eventually let us through the gates, and I was able to get a t-shirt. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the socks, but that is all good. If you want to hear about my Steamboat opening day experience more in depth, go and check out the Steamboat opening day video I did in November. After I got past the opening days, that's when things started to get more interesting. I went up to Copper on December 6th of 2025 on a 10-inch powder day, not a whole ton open yet, still only Grimmers, but there were a lot more trails open than the last time I went the month before, so that made it a little less repetitive. I got to ski a couple of rope drops off of the Super B lift, which was amazing. Unfortunately, after that, it was downhill from there. For most of December, it was bone dry in Colorado, so after that storm, we were kind of left hanging. I skied pretty much exclusively Copper for the month of December, as it was the only icon mountain that actually had a reasonable amount of terrain open. I did go to A-Basin for like half a day, one of the days, but they only had like 2 runs open, so I got bored pretty quickly. That takes me to the end of 2025. Now we are currently on the Lenaway chair, Lenaway Express, lend away by time if you are familiar with my hater's guide to A-Basin. And the east wall is just fucking looking depressing. Holy shit. We really need something. Colo cooked. But yeah, it's late December and there's only still 5% of the mountain open, so we really need something real bad. Once 2025 was over, to kick off the year for 2026, I skipped the New Year's Eve countdown and got on the road before 5 a.m. and drove up to Steamboat on New Year's Day. I literally got the first gondola cabin on the Steamboat gondola that day, which I don't think I've ever gotten first gondola cabin or first chair before. It's like, I mean, I'll say first chair or first gondola cabin, you know, just to say I got there before the lift opened. But this time, I got the very first one, which is quite hard to do. After getting off the gondola, I overheard one of the ski resort workers announce Morningside was opening for the season. Now, if you kept up with this channel for quite some time, you would know that Morning Flat is the absolute bane of my fucking existence. But who could pass up a fresh rope drop? Later in that day, I met up with Liam West and we did a few laps and had a good time. That day was a blast, but the next day it got even better.
I like this fresh, nice, soft powder.
After I finished off that day at Steamboat, I spent the night at a cheap hotel room in the town of Craig that is 50 miles west of Steamboat. Then headed back to Steamboat for another one the next day. This time we got snow. Although not the typical Steamboat champagne powder, the snow was very wet, but fresh snow is fresh snow. I bumped into another content creator named Link Skiing in the gondola line, which I skied more with him later this season, didn't really ski with him that day. I didn't get the first cabin this time, as that day was a bit busier than the day before, for obvious reasons. But I probably got like 20th cabin or something like that. I did a few laps on Storm Peak, then Morningside before they got busy. Then I eventually met up with Liam again and did some laps with him. That day was very exciting, and it definitely felt like Colorado was back after a brutally dry early season.
Found the line.
Oh, fuck. Oh my god. Oh, that sucks.
I guess that's because
I guess we should head, I think we should head back to Storm Peak after this. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Bad.
Oh my gosh, we haven't even gotten into the big ski trips yet, and I'm already feeling like I'm running a marathon. Oh boy. Alright. A week later, I went to Winter Park, where they finally opened the Jane. Finally. After over a month of waiting. Just in time for their 50-year anniversary. I gotta say, I was so excited for this, but I did not have a good experience at the 50-year anniversary, as the crowds were painfully bad. That day basically was a punch-in-the-face reminder of why I don't like Winter Park. I like the terrain Winter Park has, but the layout of the mountain is basically the 11th circle of hell. And if you don't know what I mean by that, go watch the Hater's Guide to Mary Jane's 50th anniversary that I did earlier this season. It was a fresh powder day, but it was hard to enjoy the powder when I spent half of the day just waiting in line. And if the lines weren't bad enough, the 90-minute wait to get out of the parking lot sucked even more. No, I am not kidding. There was that much fucking traffic. I was stuck in the parking lot for 90 fucking minutes. Then after having to deal with that bullshit, I then had to go fight I-70 traffic to get home. So it was basically a double-edged sword. Oh, thank God that was over. Thankfully, shortly after that terrible ski day at Winter Park, I decided to leave the country. Yes, I have had enough of being in Donald Trump's America and headed up to Canada. With all jokes aside, because the western US wasn't doing so hot this season, or was actually doing very hot this season, I saw that Banff was having a record season, so I booked a trip there. I didn't get any fresh powder days, but actually being able to ski terrain with full coverage was a breath of fresh air from being stuck skiing sharky low tide 25% open mountains in Colorado. It also happened to be during a dry spell in Colorado too, so I dodged a bullet on that one. Getting into Banff was a nightmare. Like everything that could have gone wrong, literally went wrong. The original plan was another friend I have named Liam, not Liam West, but someone who lived in Canada, who also goes by the name W. He is a Canadian local who was going to pick me up at Calgary and go with me to Banff. But things came up for him, so those plans fell through. So I had to go with plan B, which was to take the Banff Airporter shuttle. Unfortunately, my flight was getting in so late that making that shuttle was going to be tight. And if my flight was delayed at all, I wouldn't have been able to make it. Unfortunately, what I was hoping wouldn't happen did happen. My flight started boarding late, and I got infuriated. And then we ended up being delayed 15 minutes in the end. I thought I would still be able to make the shuttle, but unfortunately, it ended up taking a shitload of time for my luggage to reach the carousel, so I ended up missing my shuttle. So plan A didn't work, plan B got burnt to a fucking crisp, but luckily, I was prepared for this to happen and had a plan C, which I reserved a rental car in advance just in case. It was a bit pricey, but it was my only hope of making it to Banff. Desperate times cause for desperate measures. Plan C did work out, and I ended up getting to my hotel around 1 a.m., so that was clutch. Another blunder I made during the planning of that trip was I was dyslexic as fuck and accidentally booked my flight home for Saturday afternoon instead of Sunday afternoon. And in order to get that changed, it would have costed me $400 USD. So I had to negotiate on the phone with a United Airlines agent. And boy, having to negotiate with United customer service to get it bumped the day forward, let's say was very fun. But we're about to get into that a little bit later. Boy, what a night. After getting 5 hours of sleep after that crazy night getting in, as well as having to work that day too, I was tired as a motherfucker. But that still didn't stop me. I drove to downtown Banff to ditch the rental car, got a taxi back to the hotel room, got my gear on and took the shuttle to Lake Louise. I skied bell to bell on an empty stomach, 5 hours of sleep, and didn't take a lunch break. I got 10 laps in on the Paradise Summit pod, and I was trying to ski every steep I could there. I got a lap on West Bowl, I got a run on Richardson's Ridge, and a couple of large laps before they closed down for the day. At the base, I got myself some food and a beer and chilled until it was time to catch the bus back to Banff. What a day. Later that evening, I went to Snow Tips Backtracks to rent some avalanche gear so I could do the free ride terrain at Sunshine Village the next day. The next day came and I decided to go to Sunshine Village, hence why I rented the avalanche gear. I start off the day by skiing Angel and Divide. I met a few friendly locals whilst riding the Divide lift.
What's going on, guys? I'm riding the Great Divide lift. I've met two amazing people on the ski lift here. What are your names?
Lauren and Brian. I'm Brian. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. But yeah, it's a beautiful sunny day, so look at those views here. These are spectacular. Outside of Telluride, you don't get that in Colorado or really in the US at all.
That's the biggest peak around. That's Mount Assiniboine.
Oh, nice.
It's about 15 miles away.
30 kilometers away,
Okay, so
11,700 feet.
Nice.
It's called the Matterhorn of the Rockies.
Yeah, probably as difficult to climb as Colorado's 14er since the base is so low.
Yeah.
If not more difficult.
Then I make my way over to Mount Standish and do a few runs there. Then I went to go ski Goatseye. Goatseye was my favorite non-freeride pod as they had the most advanced and expert terrain. I got a couple of laps off of Goatseye and then they opened the Delirium Dive. I then rushed down to the gondola mid-station, then took a ride on the Super Angel and then the Great Divide, and then headed to the Delirium Dive gate where I bumped into a man named Harrison waiting for a partner at the gate. I took 2 laps with him on the dive and then headed over to Goatside to ski the Wild West. Unfortunately, I was a day late and $1 short for the Wild West, and it was closed for the day. I skied a few more laps until the resort closed for the day, then I took the bus back to the hotel. I dropped off my avalanche gear at Snow Tips. I went and sat in the hot tub for a while, and then my friend Liam W. came and joined up with me. We toasted on some champagne and had some beer and went to bed. The next day we went and skied Lake Louise. We skied all over the mountain, didn't do as much on Paradise as the first day I went, but we did do some pretty interesting runs off of there, like the very gnarly entrance we did into iGully, which I did a video on earlier this season. We had a blast skiing Lake Louise until Liam's snowboard binding took a shit on him. He had to head down to the base to get it repaired whilst I took a few laps on my own. Thankfully, he was able to get that repaired on the fly, and we were back in business 30 minutes later. After Liam and I reunited, we did a run on the ptarmigan chute, which was pretty good. We then did a few laps on the new Richardson's Ridge, and those were some very fun laps. After that, it was about time to call it a day. Oh gosh. That trip was an adventure, man. Well, that was the peak of my ski season, and unfortunately all good things must come to an end. So the next morning, I had to pack up and head home. Now, I said earlier in the video how I fucked up my return flight home. Unfortunately, when I did have that fun negotiation with United Airlines customer service, I wasn't able to get the afternoon flight without having to pay the difference. But they were willing to compromise with me, and they decided to bump me to the 6 a.m. flight on Sunday morning. I had to take that 6 a.m. flight, so Liam and I had to get up before 2 a.m. to drive back to Calgary so I could catch my flight. I felt like an absolute dick making him do that, but thank God he was willing to help me out. If you are watching this video, Liam, thank you so much for getting up at that ludicrous hour so I could catch my flight that morning. That was clutch. I cannot thank you enough for doing that. I made it home with almost no issue, and that trip felt rewarding. What an adventure. So after Banff, I just go back to skiing mid-low tide conditions in Colorado, right? Nope, wrong. Although the conditions I did get on this next trip were mid, but this was a bit of a detour before I had to go back to skiing in Colorado. The next weekend, I packed up my car for an 11-day trip to Jackson Hole and then later on Steamboat. Not as exciting as my Banff trip, but it was relaxing and enjoyable. It was more slow paced and I wasn't constantly needing to be somewhere or doing something, because Banff, even though I did have a lot of fun, I crammed so much into the 3 days I was there, there was just hardly enough time to breathe. This trip felt a lot more like a ski vacation. Unfortunately, the Jackson Hole portion of the trip, I got skunked very badly. The whole mountain was either icy or dust on crust during the days it did snow. Temperatures never got above freezing, so the snow never softened, and the worst of all, almost none of the gnar was open. The only interesting run that was open was Paintbrush off of the Thunderlift, but that was pretty much it. There was no Corbetts, no S&S, no Casper, and no altitudes. I did find a way to at least somewhat enjoy my time there, doing top to bottom tram laps, lapping the Rendezvous Bowl and Hoback runs. But other than that, there just wasn't much to talk about.
Drove in from Jackson this morning.
Well, at Jackson Hole, I got skunked like a motherfucker. But Steamboat, on the other hand, although it wasn't rainbows and unicorns, was way more workable. I saw the forecast said that there was going to be snow at Steamboat the day I was about to arrive. So the day my reservation at Jackson expired, I did exactly what I made Liam do at Banff and I got up at 2 a.m. and drove 6 hours down to Steamboat to take advantage of that powder day. When I got there and skied a few runs, it was a breath of fresh air actually being able to ski good snow. The coverage may have been worse than at Jackson, but the snow was soft, and that is what mattered the most to me. Colorado may not be known to get the most snow, but what we are known for is the best snow quality. And I noticed that very easily on my first day back skiing in Colorado. I met up with another homie I met on Discord named Josh, who was at Steamboat during the same time period as I was, and we skied together for some portions of the trip. Unfortunately, Fish Creek or Mahogany did not open during my visit, or at all this season, which was a bummer because I planned this trip hoping to be able to do that. The Pony Express was barely open, the terrain was open, but the lift was not spinning. So in order to ski the stuff there, I had the boot packet from Mount Warner. The first 2 days at Steamboat were great, but unfortunately, as I got further from the storm, conditions started to go downhill. Didn't get icy to the level Jackson Hole was, but got to the point where I had to exclusively stick to north-facing terrain, and a lot of rocks started to become uncovered. Oh, we're barely into February, and we've already talked a shitload, and we got a shitload more talking to do. Fuck. After Steamboat, I took a few weekend trips to I-70 mountains during the month of February, which were better as there was more coverage and more open, but still not peak conditions. I then went to Aspen with my parents and their friends. One of them is a ski patroller who works at Aspen Highlands, so that is pretty cool to have that connection. The first day I went was Weenie Wednesday at the Highlands, where they serve free hot dogs at the bottom of Deep Temerity every Wednesday around noon. They go quickly, so if you want to participate in that, make sure you time it right. The next day I hiked the Highland Bowl, and I did the hike in 44 minutes with no snowcat ride because that was not running at all this season. I skied at Snowmass the next day and got to ride the new Cirque T-Bar, and it was way more efficient than the old platter that used to be there. Then the following day I skied at Ajax, and I did a few laps at Buttermilk towards the end of the day. Ajax, I ended up doing my first clip drop off of the Heroes pod. I stumbled upon it, and I decided to do it. I stalled up there for a good 2 minutes questioning my life choices, but eventually I just tapped my poles and fucking sent it.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, fuck yeah. Let's go.
And there's a lot more that I didn't cover on that trip. I basically accomplished every single goal that I wanted to accomplish when I was there. It was such a successful trip. I thought my trip to Aspen was basically over, until I woke up on Sunday morning that I was going to leave and saw that it snowed overnight. So I got all my gear on and headed over to the bus stop to catch the bus to Snowmass. I was getting first tracks on literally every single run I did, which was incredible. I tried to do every run I could off of the Cirque and Hanging Valley. Unfortunately, during one of my laps on Hanging Valley, I ended up having an abysmal wipeout. My skis got hung up in some deep snow, and I ended up somersaulting into a tree. I ended up bruising my shoulder, and it hurt like a motherfucker. I was able to ski a couple of laps after, but the pain sucked. Luckily, I had a somewhat speedy recovery. I just had to take a couple days off of work to rest, and I was able to get back on the slopes the following weekend. It was still hurting, but it became a lot more manageable.
The snow's so good up here.
No more big trips, right? It's over. What a bummer. Not quite. Even though I didn't have any more big trips planned, the following weekend after Aspen, I got a 13-inch powder day at A-Basin and skied peak snowpack with Liam West and Link Skiing, who I mentioned earlier in this video. That was also the day A-Basin opened the Montezuma Bowl for the season. I had a lot of fun skiing that day with them. The snow was great, and they were both very great friends to ski with. Unfortunately, it was pretty much downhill after that day as Colorado got a major warm spell that basically cooked the snowpack, like almost entirely.
I wouldn't be.
Despite the big melt, I kept going up every weekend trying to make the best of things, Unfortunately, ski resorts were quickly closing down all their terrain as they just couldn't retain the snow. Then the last weekend of March, the one ski resort that still had a decent chunk of terrain open was, believe it or not, Loveland. I finally got the opportunity to do a long overdue trip there, as if you kept up with the channel for a while, I had one video that I basically slandered Loveland, and that has been a running joke of this channel ever since. So I met up with Sean Ray, the founder of SRG Skiing. Liam and his friend Andrew joined us as well. It was a great day of skiing spring corn. They even had a wiggle set up as well. The only wiggle I got to do this season. I don't know why none of the Icon resorts had a wiggle this season. We even got to do a lap on the Snowcat as well. Going to Loveland definitely came in the clutch that weekend as they had the most open. And I thought my season was basically over after that trip, given that there was no meaningful terrain worth skiing at that point. But I was reminded by my peers that I needed to get better at my carving. So I spent pretty much the entire month of April trying to get better at doing that. I still have a lot of room for improvement, but I am getting better at it. Some of you may not believe that I'm saying this, but carving is actually very fun once you get the hang of it. I'm actually starting to enjoy skiing groomers now. Alright, we're almost there. Just one more story, then we'll get ready to close it off, and I can finally be able to rest my voice. Holy shit. So, April is a good time to buy new gear, right? So in the middle of April, I took advantage of a sale on a pair of powder skis, and I went ahead and bought the Armada ARV 112s. I tested them out at Copper Mountain after a 7-inch storm, and I was very impressed with how well they handled the powder. After skiing on skinny skis for 20 years, skiing a proper powder ski does feel very rewarding. I thought I was going to have to wait until December to test them, just given just how bad conditions have been in Colorado this season. But the timing of when I bought them to when I was able to ski a powder day was quite incredible.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Well, that was the season. Was that the worst season ever? Well, for me personally, absolutely not. If anything, I would honestly say that that was the best season I have had yet, in some weird fucked up way. And I can't believe I'm saying it. On the surface, it may have been a dog shit ski season, but I made lemonade out of lemons, and I found the hidden gems in this season, and still had a blast. I got to visit 4 new mountains, I got to ski in a new country, a new state. I got to meet many new people on the slopes. Liam West, Link Skiing, W, Sean Ray, Josh, Andrew, and everyone else I was able to meet up with on the slopes. It has been an absolute pleasure skiing with y'all. I am very grateful to have been able to meet up with you guys on the ski slopes, and I look forward to skiing with you guys again next season, if not in a future season. Anyway, you want to join me for an even more amazing ski season in 2027? Join my Discord link down below. Thank you all for watching. Please leave your feedback down below, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.